We're all created in love. Our whole existence is based on that. But you can be in that and still not know it intimately, not know it deeply, not understand it to the point where you know how to authentically even express real, genuine love, even though we're all created in it. You know, our life is a miracle every single day. But it doesn't mean that everyone has a full understanding or participates with the power of love, to extract the power of love in their daily lives or even within their relationships. Do men fear commitment? Has it been your experience, and why, if that's the case? And why do you think, because usually the conversation is that men fear commitment more than women, where you have the dynamic of where some people feel like men fear commitment. Do you think that the women, or have you experienced where the women that you have heard saying this have a tendency to rush their relationships? Because that would be an interesting dynamic, right? If you have women who are rushing into relationships and men fearing commitment. Eric says, no, we don't fear commitment, but sometimes we do feel rushed in the relationship, and that will make the women think that we're fearing commitment. And my brother over there says, they don't, with an exclamation, an exclamation mark. He says, men tell you and show you that they're not ready. We are simple. And it's interesting, because it is a conversation that happens a lot. And even when I think of, when I was thinking of it, when I'm thinking about it, when I'm having conversations with people, I think I look at it from a different angle, because I almost would want someone, because I even think of myself when I was, Ben and I were just friends. I believe I had a fear of commitment, but not in a fear in the way that I think it's normatively understood, right? So, you guys know that our background, we're Christians, so we base our relationship is steeped in spiritual values and things like that. And so what triggered my fear of commitment in the relationship was really just understanding the sacredness of choosing to be with someone for the rest of your life and how that can affect your life greatly. So I think the fear that I was having was not the normative fear when you think of fear. I would equate it to, for those of you who read the Bible, where it says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, or the beginning of knowledge. So it's almost like a reverent fear. And for me, because of that, I had no problem with taking my time with the relationship. I didn't rush anything about the relationship, because I wanted to make sure that I was in the proper place and understanding to be able to give myself to the fullest capacity in the relationship. So when I think of fear of commitment, I look at it in that way. I don't look at it as, okay, that person just doesn't necessarily want to commit to anyone. But of course, that's not everyone. But if I did have someone in my life, like, if say Ben and I are starting over, back when we were younger, I would want him to have that same type of, I guess, instead of putting the word fear there, I would say reverence or understanding of how sacred my time is, my life is. I always had that type of mindset and perspective on it, that my time and my life are sacred. I don't, they're precious. So I would want someone who's in a relationship with me to have that same understanding, and I wouldn't think that that's someone trying to shirk, I guess, out of taking a certain position in my life, but I would want that person to have that type of honor about the decision that we were potentially, making. And yeah. So E says, sometimes we as people don't take the time to get to know the other person or to get to know ourselves. Yeah, you better preach, E. You speaking a word. Kimberly says, I feel like men, not all, will drag a relationship and will date you for 10, 20 plus years. Woo! Well, I think it's so interesting. It's weird because when you say something like that, men can't do that unless the women are staying in the relationship. I think allow, let, all those it's toxic language, in my opinion, because you can't allow someone. The fundamental truth or the fundamental principles of God, when we have that, there's no moving that. So we all have to align with those things. You know what I mean? Even yourself. So I think that's why that needs to be like the main first block of building a relationship, So I think if you're saying not to allow men in that way, that you're like, okay, I understand these fundamental truths, and I know that I have grounded myself in this, so I won't allow myself to necessarily be in relationships where I know that this is an illusion of love and it's really not, then that's a different thing. But if you are now in a relationship with a person who 5 years, 10 years, they're dating you and they've been promising you all of these things, to say now we're going to put you on a timer, I don't know if I would want that type of man in my life. To me, that man, I'm sorry, for lack of better words, would be a weak man if he's going to submit to my putting a timer on him, because I would have to put that type of man in a context of all different other life experiences, as far as, okay, how is he going to deal when we go through trials and tribulations and tests? If I had to put a timer on him just to love me, I don't know if I want that man, I know, matter of fact, I don't know. I do know. I don't want that man. I don't want that type of man. I would want a strong man who knows what he needs, what he has to do, things like that. That's the type of man that I would want to marry, and I think if a man doesn't know that, that's okay, and then he can share that and tell the woman that he is with. That's why I always tell people, don't lead with your expectations or even the other person's expectations. I think relationships go through seasons, not even I know relationship goes through seasons, because in life we go through seasons. So I always tell them, when you're in the relationship, tune in, hopefully you are a spiritual being, you're a God-fearing being, and you can tune into God to let you know what season your relationship is in, and you navigate your relationship based on what season God says it's in. Because if we just leave it on each other, then we change, we go through different emotions and we'll change at any given point, and either I'll think I'm right or the other person will think they're right, and then we're going to have to figure out how either one of us are going to have to bow out, but if we're both tuning in and we're tuning into what season our relationship is in, then that makes things like that not happen. I can't see someone who is a person who is on purpose with their own life and the things that they want to fulfill in life, allowing someone to almost put a pause on their life. I can't see that happening. What I would think is, if that's a situation that's going on, then that person did not properly wait for God to explain to them or reveal to them the purpose of that person being in their life. In wisdom, I would think, the timer wouldn't work, because why would you want to be with a man that you had to put a timer on to love you? I just particularly wouldn't want that type of man by my side, even if he surrendered to the idea, and I think it's kind of futile, because I don't think that you can make someone do something that they don't necessarily want to do. Even if that person was to succumb to a timer that someone put them on, maybe there are some benefits. Maybe there were some benefits or things that they, can always see that they can get out of it. And it can easily be not necessarily also true love, So, but I know for me, just personally, and if I had someone in front of me, who was, seeking some wisdom or guidance in that way, I would say no, because you would have to put that man in every other, maybe hypothetical situation that would come up in the way that life situations happen when you get married or you're in a long committed relationship. I wouldn't want that person by my side. I would want someone who is on purpose, who knows that this is what they want, and they're inspired to be with me, not obligated. I want somebody to be inspired to be with me, not feel like they're obligated. There's so many people who feel like whether it's the beginning of a friendship, they don't know, okay, how do I discern whether this is something that's authentic, real, and genuine, or you have a situation like Kimberly brings up where you're in it for a while, and you're wondering, do I stay or do I leave? And I do believe that we all have that, but it's the same situation. Like, okay, we're all created in love. Our whole existence is based on that, but you can be in that and still not know it intimately, not know it deeply, not understand it to the point where you know how to authentically even express real, genuine love, even though we're all created in it. Our life is a miracle every single day. But it doesn't mean that everyone has a full understanding or participates with the power of love, to extract the power of love in their daily lives or even within their relationships. And so hopefully that's why, this platform and, is created to help people get a more, rooted understanding of what it is. Kimberly says, I think a lot of women expect marriage based on how long they've been dating their partner. And fear they will never get married. Yeah, so that's why I don't think Erin's still here, but I liked her male friend's answer when he answered that question that was posed to the men. How do you know if a relationship is naturally progressing versus if it's being forced? And he says when his insecurities do not get the best of him. And so then in that particular, at least specific situation that you're giving me, Kimberly, when the woman is like, okay, I've been here, with this person for a long time, so I've invested all this time, I want to get married, and the idea is in the back of her head that I've spent all this time, so maybe I'm not going to get married. Then is it love that's leading, the pursuit or the rushing into marriage, or is it the insecurity? And if it's in the insecurity, then oh man, the way you start a thing, that seed is going to reproduce. So